Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about the 4 most commonly used sweeteners and which is the best for overall health and anti-aging. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from AttaBoyCowBoy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. Now today I want to talk about sugar. Sugar has a lot of controversy. It's mentioned a lot, and I wanted to explain what exactly it is and why there are so many different options and which are the best options for you to use. I get asked by a lot of patients, what type of sugar should I use? Well, that's a good question. The first thing you want to do is understand what sugar is, why it's good and bad for you. Now, most of us know what sugar is. It's what's in candies and cakes and all the things that taste really good. But what is it? Well, it's a carbohydrate, and it elicits a response in your body. One of the reasons it's not good for you is that when you eat sugar, it causes your body to release extra insulin into the bloodstream. Now what that does is, let's say you eat a Twinkie or a Snickers, your sugar is going to spike and your body will start releasing insulin to break down that sugar and bring your sugar levels down. Obviously when you're diabetic, that process is not as efficient, so you're going to have to use insulin. And what's happening is when you have those high levels of sugar, it causes something called oxidative damage or free radical damage. Now, what is free radical damage? You hear that all the time. And I have a really good analogy for that. I was just telling a patient about this the other day. Think about sitting at a bar with your buddies, and 3 of you are on stools, and you're each sitting there having a beer, all right? When you have free radical damage, you basically have an atom with 2 electrons, and atoms like to be complete. They like to have all their electrons. One of the electrons is pulled off, and that other electron is left with the atom, and it's searching through your body looking for another electron to make itself complete again. So if you have one of those things scavenging around and you're sitting with your buddies, it's like someone coming and pulling one of the legs off that 3-leg stool you're sitting on. So if you pull one of the legs off, you're going to fall. And you may fall into your buddy and knock him over, and he may fall into the next guy and knock him over, and etc. So that's what happens with free radical damage. When you eat things that cause free radical damage, like sugar, you're knocking the electrons loose from some of the atoms in your body, and it causes these atoms to start scavenging around your body looking for electrons to make themselves complete. They steal electrons, and then it causes like a chain reaction. Think about playing pool at a pool table. You know, when you hit the ball and it hits a bunch of them, they spread out. Same effect. It spreads out and it causes all this oxidative damage. Now, what is oxidative damage? Oxidative damage is kind of like rust. Have you ever seen like a rusty piece of metal? That's oxidative damage. The oxygen is necessary for life, but it's actually causing that metal to break down and decay and rust and disappear eventually. Well, the same thing's happening to you. You're breathing, you need oxygen, but it also causes you to oxidize or age and get older, right? If you eat sugar, it's going to speed up that process. You're going to be robbing electrons, and it's going to cause more oxidative damage. Now, when you take antioxidants like vitamin A, C, D, E, it's an antioxidant because it prevents that oxidative damage. It actually gives electrons and makes those atoms complete and prevents them from scavenging around your body. Now, that's one of the issues, is oxidative damage caused by sugar. Another issue is it causes increased acidity in your body. Cancer cells love that. They love that type of environment. They thrive in it and they grow. Cancer is basically cell mutations. So whenever you have cancer, oftentimes you want to avoid eating sugar. It's going to help it grow faster. You can cut sugar out and it'll slow down its growth and sometimes even make it disappear or prevent it. That's why you hear about people drinking this alkaline water. They're trying to lower their acidity. Or they drink lemon juice and water. I have another video I talked about making lemon water to reduce your acidity, make you more alkaline naturally. So that's one of the dangers of eating sugar. Now, again, sugar is like alcohol or smoking or anything else like that that people enjoy doing. You can eat sugar, you just have to eat in moderation. And you have to be aware of the symptoms so that you can avoid some of the damage from it. Like eating things that are high in antioxidants when you eat sugar to help neutralize some of the effects. Now, another thing I hear a lot from patients is, oh, I want to lower my cholesterol, so I'm going to stop eating bacon and I'm going to stop eating butter. That theory has been disproven a long time ago. That theory was actually made by a cardiologist, I think in the 40s, from Minnesota. And at that time, it was widely accepted that eating animal fats was going to increase your cholesterol. Well, that theory has pretty much been debunked. And one of the major issues that people have these days is eating too much sugar. Sugar raises your cholesterol, your LDL. That's why I remember HDL, LDL. HDL is the healthy one, LDL is the lethal. LDL is the bad cholesterol. So it's going to raise those unhealthy triglycerides and cause atherosclerosis, heart disease, all those other issues that you have. So that's what sugar is. Now, what types of sugar should you be eating? Well, let's go over the 4 types. First, let's go over artificial sweeteners. There's a lot of them. You've probably seen saccharin and on and on and on. There's a whole bunch of them. And a lot of those are not very healthy because they're highly processed and they cause a lot of damage. I know, like in diet soft drinks, they have phenylalanine in some of those ingredients that are those artificial sweeteners. Phenylalanine causes cancer in lab rats and also in humans. So a lot of these artificial sweeteners, they taste really sweet, but they're toxic for your body and they actually can cause endocrine damage, which means they throw off your hormone levels, which can lead to obesity. They've done studies on people that drink diet sodas and they have a much higher risk of obesity and cancer than people that just eat regular sugar. So if your options are regular natural sugar and artificial sugars, avoid the artificial sugars at all costs. They're very toxic. I don't recommend any of them. NutraSweet, you name it. When you go to the restaurant, they have all sorts of different little packages you can use for your coffee. Avoid them. They're not healthy for you. Now, another one that's really common is honey. There's all sorts of different honeys. Basically, you want to get the one that is least processed. The more processed it is, that means it's pasteurized, which means it's been heated, and that destroys a lot of the benefits that's in honey. So you want to try to get the raw honey, the organic one that doesn't have all that processing behind it. Raw honey is not as processed, so again, it's going to be alive. It's going to have enzymes in it that benefit your body. Now, the darker the honey, the healthier it tends to be for you, and it tends to be more expensive also because of the added health benefits. The most expensive honey I've seen is called Manuka honey. It comes from Australia. It's really dark and it has a lot of antioxidants in it, a lot of health benefits. A really small bottle of it is like $30. This bottle here of organic honey from Whole Foods is about $5. This California orange blossom raw unfiltered honey from Trader Joe's, $4. If this were Manuka honey, this would be about $60 worth. It's very expensive. I'm not sure it's worth that premium, but it is much healthier. I would just tend to buy something that's not filtered and not pasteurized. The more processed the honey is, it basically starts becoming just plain old sugar. honey is sugar basically. It has a lot of sugar in it. When you process it, you destroy all the benefits and you're just basically eating empty calories, which are sugar and are not good for you. So eat raw, unfiltered, unpasteurized honey. That's the healthiest. And honey is really good for your skin. It causes you to retain water in your skin. It increases your hydration levels. So it's going to make you look younger. If you ever seen anybody that has dry skin, they're going to tend to have more wrinkles. But when they're retaining water, it's going to make you look a little more plumper. So it's going to actually stretch out those wrinkles and make your skin look younger. So honey is great for your skin. Some of the other benefits of honey compared to sugar is that it tends to contain vitamins, minerals, enzymes, antioxidants, and it can be used medicinally as a cough suppressant, and it can be used for different types of skin disorders and for wound healing. It has a lot of benefits to it. Honey can also be used for allergy relief. One of the only downfalls of honey is that if you're immunosuppressed, or if you're really young or really old, it can cause botulism, which is a bacterial infection that can make you really sick, cause you to get weaker. So you have to keep that in mind. Another thing with honey is you don't want to heat it. I always see people adding honey to hot tea or hot coffee or other hot things. That's not going to work. The heat will actually destroy all the health benefits of the honey. You want to eat it cold, room temperature. Don't heat honey, or you're going to destroy the enzymes, the vitamins, and some of the other benefits that are in that honey. Now, another benefit is that honey is about 30% glucose and 40% fructose. The other 30% is vitamins, minerals, and pollen, and some amino acids. Sugar is 50% glucose, 50% fructose. So it actually has a higher sugar content to it. Now I want to talk about sugars. So sugar is powdered white sugar, brown sugar, and all sorts of other types of sugar. Now I've heard people tell me, well, brown sugar is much healthier than regular sugar. Now that is a myth. Brown sugar is still sugar. It's the same thing. What they do is they tend to add maple syrup to it. And that's what gives it that brown color and makes it clumpy. And it has benefits for baking and cooking different dishes. That's why it has that different consistency. Brown sugar is basically made for its consistency, not because it's healthier. I've heard patients tell me, well, that's raw sugar. It's not processed. That's not true. It's still sugar. It's the same thing. Again, it just has maple syrup added to it. Now, what types of sugar are there? Well, if you live in tropical areas, the most common type of sugar is cane sugar. Now they're actually making coconut sugar, and there's all sorts of other sugars, but cane sugar is the most common sugar used around the world. Now, in the United States, we eat a lot of sugar, and we don't have sugar cane here. It doesn't grow in our climate. So we basically grow our own type of sugar. It's called sugar beets. We make it out of beets, and it's a type of beet that has really high sugar content and grows in cold temperatures. So they're able to grow it in the northern part of the United States, in states like Michigan, and they can harvest it and we can produce sugar out of it for our market. Now, sugar is not very good for you because it has a very high glycemic index, which means that you eat the sugar and you can digest it really fast, and it just causes a big spike. Whenever you get a spike in your blood sugar, you're going to have more of that free radical damage we talked earlier. So if you're not able to produce insulin properly, you're going to have a lot more damage when you eat regular sugar. Even regular people, it causes more damage because it's more work for your body to break it down and prevent some of the negative benefits of that sugar. So it's going to lead to more issues with obesity and high cholesterol. So sugar is definitely the worst of the different sweeteners. Now, what's my favorite option for sweetening? Well, I tried some of the artificial sweeteners, and I just want to show you this. I got these gummy bears, and it had this one artificial sweetener that sounded really awesome. It had some health benefits, but I gave this to a few friends, and they got really sick. They got flatulence, and they got diarrhea. So I've tried different sweeteners so I can recommend them to my patients. One of the more popular ones you see these days is agave sweetener. That's not good for you. It's really high in omega-6s, and it's actually bad for your health. So you can avoid agave sugar or sweetener. The best sugar I found is stevia extract. Stevia is actually a plant. It's an herb, and it's from Japan. And it's actually 200 times sweeter than sugar. So you need really small amounts of it. This bottle here will last you as long as a big bag of sugar. If you're a baker or a cook, you can research this online. You can find some better strategies for cooking, because I'm not a very good cook. But I know that some folks use this on their sweets, and they just sprinkle it on top of their baked goods to give it that sweet effect. Because I know that when you heat it, it tends to denature, breaks down, and it loses some of its sweetness. So stevia is a really good alternative. It tastes sweet, but it doesn't cause that spike in your blood sugar. So it doesn't cause the free radical damage that's associated with some of the other sweeteners we talked about. Even honey causes spikes in your blood sugar. So it is also going to cause free radical damage, just like regular sugar does. It's just going to cause less of it, because like I mentioned, it's only 70% glucose and sucrose, and it tends to be sweeter than sugar. So you're going to end up using less honey than regular sugar. Now stevia, you're going to use even less, and it doesn't cause that. So it's really good. One issue you have to be aware of that I've been noticing lately is I've been seeing little packets popping up that say stevia on them. And my little sister was buying them, and I thought, wow, that's good. She's using stevia now. As I started using some of these products, I looked at the ingredients, and I noticed they're not 100% stevia. They're mixing them with other toxic sweeteners like maltodextrin, which is an extract from corn. I've even seen some made from high fructose corn syrup, which is one of the most common sweeteners used in the United States. It's actually made from corn, and it's very toxic, and it has a high glycemic index. So definitely avoid high fructose corn syrup. High amounts of sugar is going to cause brain damage, memory damage, and issues with attention. When I worked in schools with kids, the kids that I would see that had the most difficulties with learning disabilities, attention problems, attention deficit disorder, they had high sugar consumption in their diet. So the first thing I would do with those parents is tell them to cut the sugar out. And oftentimes when I had those types of kids, the first questions I would make was to the parents and to the child about their diet. What is it they're eating? And sure enough, oftentimes they were eating highly processed food, which tends to have sugar buried in it. Foods like canned spaghetti, canned soups, etc. They'll put sugar in it to give it a better flavor. Condiments like barbecue sauce or ketchup that are not organic or good quality are made with high fructose corn syrup. That's really bad. It's going to cause issues with attention, it's going to cause memory lapses, and it causes brain damage over time. So you want to avoid high fructose corn syrup as well. As far as I'm aware, I have not found any negative consequences of using stevia. The only issue you have to worry about with stevia, if it's mixed with other types of artificial sugars, which do have negative health benefits. But if you're just eating straight stevia, I have not found or seen any negative health benefits to patients. So again, all of us enjoy sweeteners. I enjoy cakes and pies and all that kind of stuff sometimes, but eat it in moderation. And if you can, use stevia or even honey to sweeten your food. Don't use artificial sweeteners, and use regular sugars very sparingly. Now, if you have any questions, please comment below. Thank you for listening.